Hey, good evening, everyone. I just want to do another lesson on end times, mark of the beast, all that kind of stuff, and just going to start off with a couple posts from r/unemployed from Reddit. It's not funny, but I keep up with this page, and I make comments here and there just to let people know that it's not their fault, and if I can ever help with like resume stuff, I'll try and give my 2 cents. But more so, I regularly visit this subreddit because I just want to let people know that it's not their fault, because there was many years for me going through corporate America. I always wondered, like, why am I getting all this bad luck, I'm just not fitting in and all that. But you're not going to fit in if you want creative work, you want reasonable hours, you want a fun work environment and all that. And it's not any individual's fault. Now I know that it's God doing this, and so I don't necessarily say all of that to them, but I remind people that if they're going through something and they just don't know why, they're interviewing hundreds of times, not hearing back or something like that, it's not their fault. So I'll just read a few of these posts. Very first one that just got posted by Lost Down Below. It's like, if employers could read my mind, and it's a meme. Interviewer: why do you want this job? Me: I've always been passionate about being able to afford food. And so sometimes I guess the moderator lets some of this stuff go, but they're actually sort of picky about things. One time I got banned for like a week because I was too doom and gloom, I guess. But I thought that was funny. Then another post a day ago: tell me why we should get a job. I get zero enjoyment out of my career. Someone's like, oh, I don't know, being able to buy food is one reason. And then there's a little back and forth on that. There was one more I wanted to read. Yeah, there was one person who was like, work for below minimum wage. Has anyone thought about working for like $5 an hour? That's one way to stand out and entice these capitalistic pigs to hire. By the way, I have a master's. Would be a good experiment. And so it's obviously a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but things are getting kind of obvious. Again, not everybody's going through this, but it's becoming more and more common. I think for me, it's just exaggerated because I just get bored, easier than most people. And so 6 months to a year just going to a job and sitting there and just killing time is like my threshold, and then I have to move on. And so, but I want to talk about the end times, and again, pretty much how I feel very comfortable in my assessment that if the Bible is true from end to end, it's going to prove it by the end of 2023. Let's just say 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. So 5 years. That's more than enough time. And I'm just going to go through some of the reasons and kind of rehash them again. The main thing for me that I would say is that we're in the end times is because of this notion of the elect. And the Bible says that the end times will only be cut short for the elect's sake. So that is a 1-to-1. The mark of the beast is implied that we're in the end times because God's angels comes and cleans up those who take it, and so destroys them. So that's like obvious. But as the precursor, the thing leading up, the only absolutely definitive sign or having some comfort or knowledge that we're in the end times is are these so-called elect. Because even like wars, rumors and wars, and like earthquakes in diverse places and all these kind of things, like they're obviously happening now, and they're just, as much as some of them are very like quantitative, like earthquakes in diverse places, you can quantify that happening more and more, but there's still a little bit of ambiguity associated with that, and it doesn't pin it down directly. And so these quote unquote elect, the 144,000, are the best metric, in my opinion, to gauge, the sort of precursor, the closest thing to the mark of the beast time frame that we have. And so, to me, just thinking of some of those people being on Earth right now, all men, would they want to be on Earth for longer than 5 years? To me, it's impossible, because the Bible says that the effeminate, and liars, swindlers, all these things will not get into the kingdom of heaven. And in my opinion, you're required to be effeminate and to lie to live. And these memes, this meme on the Unemployed section is just like an extreme thing. It's like interviewers will literally ask, why do you want this job? And you have to like make up something, a lie, when the answer that's given here in this meme is like, to eat, So everything in this society right now is against the Bible. You're basically not allowed to tell the truth. And then so you're essentially required to be an actor, a robot. And then that's crystallized with the mark of the beast for those who choose to continue down that road. God has prophesied through the Bible that he's going to tattoo those people and destroy them. And may we not be one of those faithless degenerates that does that. But so it's becoming more and more obvious that the world is unlivable for those who even have an interest in following the Bible, much less like actually doing it, which I don't think you can. And so to me, like I've said, either the Bible's not true and there is no end times to even think about, or the end times is like down the road. And I don't think it can be like 20 or 30 or 40 years from now, because that would mean that these so-called elect some of them would not be born yet. And then they would have to live in a world for 30 or 40 years that this world is becoming. And in my opinion, I just don't, again, see how that's possible, because it's not getting better, and there's no signs of it, because even the people that are being oppressed and enslaved, like, they don't care, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about, even with truthers, they don't want to talk about financial manipulation. And so to me, this is, again, more and more confirmation that God is behind this, and this is his will. He's blocked people's minds, and certain people are not allowed to talk about certain things, and I don't fight it anymore, or I try not to. So to me, there's no way that the elect are, in grade school right now. Some of them, not even one. And again, I'm not saying that to be arrogant, but like, I just don't know how an individual could function in this society, being close to God, being very, very close to God's heart, like the elect would be, and function, knowing that we're being lied to about the shape of the earth, that, there's gender confusion. There's, you have to be sympathetic to the homosexual agenda no matter what, if you want to even date. Christianity is just a complete joke. Like, mention that Jesus is black really anywhere, and people one guy told me to repent because I was bringing out Bible verses, many of them that showed that all the prophets were black men. And so it's a joke. Like, it's there's nothing to do, and just even if that were not the case and all those things did not exist, there's nothing productive to do here except work towards your own enslavement. And so to me, an elect would not make it. They would be suicidal at a young age. And if I knew even half the things I knew now, I would not make it. I would not have made it to 37 years old that I am now. And so to me, then the only option is, the end times is way down the road, like way down the road, when things are just like much, much different than they are now. And God literally has to almost start from scratch. Like, new Babylon is raised up, new everything. All this deception was just bad timing for us to live in these days. And, that's just bad luck, So to me, that's the only thing that makes sense. And so let's remove that case, because I think it's unlikely, because, again, America fits Mystery Babylon perfectly. And, a lot of truths are coming out, and the Bible prophesies that knowledge will increase in the last days, which is happening through Flat Earth and other things. And a lot of the stuff Russian Vids brings out, honestly. Just the whole sort of financial scam, that's, again, also mainstream now. And, the mark of the beast, right at our doorstep. And so, all these things are just kind of coming out. And so it's the perfect sort of ecosystem for this. And then so just by my calculations, if I'm not even on God's right hand side, let's just say that I'm on God's left hand side and I do not like it here, then I can't imagine what God's right hand side is saying. And there are quite a few people who are even not religious who are complaining. And then how much more would the elect be complaining? And so to me, I don't think anybody who even slightly cares about righteousness and truth and mimicking, Jesus Christ's example, Yahushua's example, would function in a society like this for more than 5 years. And even that to me is a huge stretch. So that to me is important. And then also there's a verse, Matthew 24:24, that says, "For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show many signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect." So there will be a lot of deception as prophesied in that verse, and then but it will not have the ability to deceive the elect. So really then there would be a point, again, if this were not the end times, there would be at some point in the future that more and more deception would have to be reinfused. But to me, I find that hard to believe, just because flat earth, because to me, unobstructed 3, 4, 5 years is plenty of time to prove that the earth is flat with like a rigorous, repeatable, observable, very few nonlinearities, if any at all. And by that time, drones, who knows what drones are going to do. Like, we have like FedEx and all this Amazon doing drone deliveries. I mean, like, if for companies to then, optimize those drones for even whether they're in-house or, FedEx does it through third-party engineering, those drones can then be used by us, and then I'm assuming 5 years from now, Amazon Prime will just be like, you don't have to have the drone deliver to us. Everybody will just have their own drone. It's like it'll be like a pet. Like, people literally probably have pet drones. I would not be surprised. It's like the drone will just, like, you give it a list of tasks to do that day. It'll go get your groceries. It'll go get your packages, and then you'll just come home and, like, the drone will be there. And it'll know when to charge and all that. And so it'll basically be like a digital pet. And so if that's the case, like, the amount of precision that would be needed to orchestrate that type of drone highway, I mean, that to me solves the flat earth problem immediately. Like, you get drones involved into any of these solutions, both sides literally have to, like, be quiet. It's like, you can't argue. I mean, there's like drones, like a drone is flying around, you're gonna like debate, no, the drone didn't go into the right place. Okay, well then a person like that is only trusts the daddy government then. So I mean, that's absurd. That will not be the case. I think people will have to be honest with themselves, whatever the solution ends up being. Obviously, I believe and know now that the earth is flat. Water can't form an arc, but then it'll be proven, like 5 years, again, plenty of time. So how could the elect then be deceived if the end times were much, much later? Everybody born into a world like that would know that God exists. So the beautiful thing about flat earth is that, and I feel this kind of more and more every day, especially if a test like that would happen with a drone or something, I don't have a boss anymore. I don't say that to be arrogant, but I don't report to anybody on earth anymore. I don't take anybody seriously. Like, somebody, and I'm not trying to call this person out, it doesn't matter, like, and I'm not trying to say this to get pity, but like, someone called me like a sand nigger on a flat earth, ball earth debate. And it's like, it was kind of amazing because, like, I literally didn't care, and like, it's kind of bad for me, honestly, currently right now in dating, because like, I'll literally just don't care, and it's like, I'm not doing anything like to be mean to people or anything like that, but like, I mean, I literally just don't care, what people say. And there would have been a time in my life where that would have mattered to me for sure, a lot, especially I grew up in a town where I was one of the, like, few non, quote unquote white people in the town. And, I was like the darker skinned person. And so comments like that would have taken like a month or two or a year to recover from, if that, if not more. And then so, but like, it's just, I don't care anymore. It's like, if God exists, and again, Flat Earth is proving it, and other things too, the coordinated deception, financial deception, to me is actually the strongest proof. But I don't have a boss anymore, and I recommend everybody be that way, whether we're the end times or we're the elect or we're not, or we're God's children or we're not. It's like, those are just terms, that the God of the Bible uses to distinguish people that are close to him and people that are not. And we don't have a say in that. But what we can control is who our God is, and I don't report to anybody on earth. Now, I find the opinions and even the voices, and honestly, even my own thoughts in many ways, pointless. Like, they're just completely frivolous and a waste of time, useless, and just futile. Like, I can think as hard as I want, but I don't know, unless I had a military, like, as of right now, I'm brainstorming constantly. Every time, like, I'm out, I see, like, electrical poles, or I'm always thinking of a test that can trap these ballers. But, it's like, I don't know, honestly, at this point right now, without some sophisticated equipment, I don't think I'd be able to do it. Again, I'll keep thinking about it. So really, like, it's kind of a waste of time. It's like, well, what's the point of all this kind of stuff? Just thinking about this. It's like, if God exists, I fundamentally just want to know, why he made me, and us, the narrative. Get close to him. That's the only important thing. There's nobody on earth, if you're a genuine flat earther, and I hope people keep growing deeper and deeper into that truth and others, but I think the way I interpret that in my life is, I don't negotiate with humans anymore. I negotiate directly with God. If I'm uncomfortable with the situation or my life situation, it's up to him to fix it, and I don't get mad at people or whine or complain. I know literally everything that happens to me now at this point going forward, God is doing it to me. So him and I negotiate directly. And so to me, it would be hard to imagine again that, like, these quote unquote elect would, again, if the Bible's true, because only if the Bible's true does this topic of the elect even matter. So again, which would have to assume that the earth is flat, because the Bible's a flat earth book. How could people be born into a world that, in my opinion, 2-3 years max it would take for the flat earth to be proven, again, if the Bible is true, and unobstructed by, like, the government, YouTube, and Second Coming or Mark of the Beast? The earth will be proven to be flat, for sure, in a way that, everybody can appreciate, acknowledge, and verify for themselves with off-the-shelf stuff. Like a pet drone, it's just like, if you have a few friends who have these pet drones, and you have the ability to, and some awareness on how to program it or know where it is, like have a tracking thing, and then GPS. At that point, one would think that not just like we'd have military grade, but we'd have even a more advanced version of that available to us. I mean, you could literally come up with like thousands, hundreds of thousands of tests with that. And then who knows how good the cameras will be at that point. Like, who knows what an iPhone will be. Again, I feel like a lot of this technology is hidden. Like, they have stuff that, like the Mark of the Beast, in my opinion, that they've had for a long, long time. And so we was on a hangout earlier, I think with P. Mars, talking about the internet, and DARPA was like using stuff like that 30 years before we saw it. It's like, we get the internet in like around 98, 99, 2000, and then there's like DARPA tinkering with it, 30 years prior. So, I mean, like, it's just the way God does things, like the people at the very, very high up, a lot of them, if not all of them, are on the left-hand side. And then he's distilling truth down through them in many ways, so we're not overwhelmed, but, and also a lot of ways just to fit his timing, in his narrative. But, so flat earth, will be proven. And then, so what's the deception after that? Like, what can you deceive somebody who's born into a world where it's common knowledge or could be easily verified that the earth is flat? And so, and there's a dome and we're not moving. the natural question that I would have had if this were made obvious to me at a young age is, I would just look up all the time. I'd be like, well, why are we here? What am I doing here? If there's clearly we're not moving and like it's like a stage with a dome, I'd be like, well, what's past that blue stuff up there? Who made this? Why am I here? And all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't go to school to be indoctrinated and like worry about my grades on the test when I know that God exists. I'd be like, I want something interesting to do or I'm getting out of here. And so that to me is like, it'd be like common sense. You don't even have to be a spiritual guru to fit those things together. Going to school for 20 some years, slaving away at tests where we're taught a bunch of gibberish, that won't exist if the earth is flat, because like all the entire educational systems will be overthrown, et cetera, et cetera. So again, to me, this is on the assumption that the Bible is true. And if it is true, the last thing that it states, that this mark of the beast will happen. And so to me, again, I just don't see how, with that, coupled with flat earth, coupled with the elect, this so-called elect, 144,000, who's in the same breath, Jesus describes them and then the end times as being truncated or shortened for their sake. To me, these three things, if I were to summarize this whole lesson together, make it nearly impossible, if not impossible, for the end times to not happen, in my opinion, in the next 5 years. And, no man, like the Bible says, know the day nor hour, but I think it's pretty safe bet, that it would be in that time frame, in lieu of all the other things that are going on in the world. And especially with flat earth, like I was want to hang out or just listening to Ranty's live stream, Ranty Flat Earth. He's, this guy spends, a lot of time, does a lot of good work, and then people are doing a lot of images, and, there's enough observations that support a flat earth. And so, it's not a conspiracy theory anymore. It's like, it's rooted in, imagery. It's rooted in things that people can see that they shouldn't see, way beyond, what the curve calculators are saying. And then ballers have to say that, images are being, shined up over a curve in those situations. Like magically the atmosphere is allowing that building or whatever to be what they call loomed up over a curve, which, just happens to create the perfect image over the curve, even though there's a channel, an atmosphere between the observer and that building, that should technically distort those images, those things that people see, and they shouldn't be able to be seen, with a perfect clarity, like it would on a flat earth. And so they're struggling, and so to me, the knockout blow will likely come from drones. But, again, that's just what I'm sort of been thinking about lately. There's probably lots of other technology that could be used, like wide angle lenses as well, and stuff like that. And so again, the more and more technology that comes out, and it has to be affordable for it to be, a commercially viable thing that's of interest for companies, unless it's like purely for military, which, we're not going to see that stuff anyway. Again, like I said, you give us one real piece of military equipment, like one drone that has like millimeter level accuracy. I mean, I could go, we can just go right now, and live stream a solution. I'll just dangle one thing from the thing. And then, I'm assuming it has some control station with like ridiculous precision. I'll be zigzagging all over the place, and who knows what kind of batteries those things have. They're obviously not dinky batteries that we have on our iPhone, that they drain every once in a while, so we have to buy a new phone. Like, we're talking about military grade, not just the length of the battery, but just the conditions that drone would need to be able to withstand, the environment, sandstorms, hurricanes. Who knows what these things are tested in, like that. Who knows like how strong this thing could survive? Because again, you have to think that drone is probably a bigger worry for the quote unquote enemy than probably 100 humans. So like the kind of things that people have prepared, to combat those things would probably be incredible. And how quiet it must be too, all that kind of stuff. So, again, I think as all those things kind of, some of it, the crumbs sort of fall off the military table to us, that they can make money off of. To me, again, with the fervor that's happening, the flat earth thing won't take, in my opinion, more than like 1 or 2, 3 years tops. And then once that happens, and let's say, again, the Bible's true, because the Bible's a flat earth book, and the flat earth is proven true, I just don't see how, the end by the mark of the beast could not be very close to that, before it or just like very much right after it. Because to me, not even, you don't have to be the elect or the chosen. Anybody with common sense, would not happily continue in the enslavement that's happening worldwide, knowing that we live on a flat stationary earth. It's quite obvious, should be quite obvious to even non-religious people that there's a creator. So hope everyone's doing well. I think we're near the end. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.